Welcome back to the channel, you guys. Welcome back to Ironclad RC. Got the UL-19 on the block. All right, this is my super U19 build. Super build. Got the big block, okay? Gonna be installing an Oxidean Marine 200. All right, with a 4082 2200 kV 6-pole Oxidean big block. All right, gonna do like a once over on the electronics. We got to pull them out the boat. I just kind of got a dry fit. Gonna do a once over kind of quick review. Gonna be installing, well, binding up the QUASAR with the GPS module in the U19. All right, so stick around. Big B with Ironclad RC. So let's go over the parts list for the boat, what I'm using. Okay, everything I'm using today. All right, we're going to be using the Mad Lizard tuning gauge. This is a ride height gauge. You actually gauge your strut depth, okay, while you're running the boat. Okay, that's going to come in handy. That's from Mad Lizard products, okay. I got a zip kits collet, 5mm to .187. Okay, with a .187 upgraded cable, 3/16 shaft. If you're going to be putting big power in this boat, or you're running the stock motor on 6S, you got to upgrade the cable. You know, in my opinion, especially if you're going to be turning some big props or putting extra weight in the boat. All right, running the QUASAR talking radio. We're going to bind that up with the RXG-PT-01 receiver. That receiver has a GPS module that can be binded up, plugged in up to it, a voltage probe, so we get real-time voltage and speed readout through our touchscreen radio. Okay, the electronics I'm using, like I've said in the intro there, we're using an Oxidean Marine 200 amp ESC with the 4082 Oxidean 6-pole. Okay, the boat actually came with a 6-pole motor. It came with this DYNIMITE 3650. Okay, and the boat was pretty quick. It was fast, you know. But this motor on this boat, it doesn't really like 6S. It's a 6S motor designed to be run on 4S in this boat. 6-pole motor. That's what come in the boat. 6-pole motors tend to have more torque than a 4-pole motor. Most, I would say 80% of the motors you can get are 4-pole. Okay, 4-pole motors, they have great top end speed, and you know, the lower you go in kV, the more torque they have. Okay, a 6-pole motor has more torque at the same kV as a 4-pole motor. Okay, that's basically why I think they went with a 6-pole motor in this boat. They got more torque. You could turn a bigger propeller with a torquey motor. Okay, so I went with a big block. You guys can clearly see the difference in size here. 4082, 3650. Okay, I went with a big block. Okay, as you go up in can size, okay, you could kind of go up in kV. The higher the kV, especially on a big boat like this that pulls a lot of current and it draws a lot of amps. It's a heavy boat, especially with these big electronics. It's going to be heavy. You got to have an ESC to back it. You got to have an ESC to back a higher kV motor. You can't put a high kV motor in a boat with a borderline ESC that's barely going to cover the amp draw. Okay, you've got to have an ESC that's going to handle it. So I went with the Oxidean Marine 200. Okay, I think it's a 3 to 8S capable motor. Has 6.5mm bullets. The motor has 6.5s already plugged, like soldered up. It's basically plug and play. Okay, it has a nice aluminum anodized heat sink on the ESC here. 3 capacitors. You got nice 10 gauge wires here, long 10 gauge wires, which we're actually going to need to solder a new connector on. This is an EC8. Now, I would love to run EC8s. All my connectors are EC5 compatible. So we're going to desolder this guy, put a series connection in with 2 EC5s, and the ESC's actually got a voltage probe. Okay, that probe right there, it can be left on and plugged into your RXG-PT-1 receiver, QUASAR receiver. Okay, you'll get real-time voltage readout. we're definitely going to hook a voltage probe up to it, because that's going to be a really nice feature to have, real-time voltage, so we know when to bring the boat back in. Okay, this ESC has an on-off button with an easy set button. You can run through your parameters with that set button. Okay, we're going to bind all that up. I'll show you how to do it here shortly. And a really long RX wire. Okay, like I said, the motor's got 6.5s, 5mm shaft, nice blue anodized, open vented end bell on the back of the motor. The front is closed. Okay, I kind of like a closed back end or forward end bell. You don't really have to worry about that bearing right there, you know. So one of the main things you want to look for when you're buying a brushless motor, you know, other than KV and pole count, is the fact that you can take it apart and service it. Okay, you can take this motor, the end bells off, okay, clean the rotor, clean the stator, replace bearings. It's fully serviceable. Okay, it's something you need to look for when you're motor shopping, you know. So let's go ahead and get this guy here over on the workbench. Okay, so I didn't film the process of soldering up my connectors. I have other videos with that, you know, pretty easy. I don't recommend EC5s for a 200 plus amp ESC. I don't recommend it. It's what I got right now. I'm planning on switching over to Q8s or 8mm bullets here shortly. So I'm running my EC5 so I can get the boat on the water. Okay, not recommended. Making that clear. Got my voltage probe wire tapped into the bullet. I soldered it onto the bullet. I used a sewing needle to push it through my connector and my heat shrink. I'll show you right now. Pretty cool, right? Pretty cool. It helped out. I was struggling trying to get the wire through without it. That might help you out with something. I got the voltage wire hooked up to the voltage extension plug right here, and the GPS is plugged in right there. So we're going to have to configure all this in to the build. Okay, so when I had the motor like dry mounted in the boat, like if the wires coming out the motor, if they were mounted like this, would be ideal. Okay, but with this motor, the head screws, the way the head screws are positioned on this motor, we're only going to be able to mount the motor at an angle like this, either like this or with the wires coming out under it like that. Okay, this boat's kind of tight getting batteries in. Let me grab a battery. It's kind of tight getting batteries into this boat. I'm going to be running these HCL-HP 7600 150C packs in here on 6S. And it's a tight fit, you know. So I'm thinking, instead of running our wires coming out the top, I'm thinking if we run our wires coming out at an angle on the bottom, it might be more convenient and look a little cleaner. So I was also thinking that we could take this end bell cap off and spin this end bell, spin it. Okay, you see what I'm saying? Like spin it, rotate it, so the wires would come out the top. But I was looking at it. I don't think it's going to help. I was kind of doing some figuring, just kind of looking at it, and I don't think that would work. So we're going to run it like it is. I think I'm going to run it with the wires coming out the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead, get some blue Loctite, get some screws in here. I think I'm going to run these 2.5s. It also has a 3mm option. I probably should run 3. It's a heavy motor. In a flip, it might break those 2.5s. So we're going to probably have to drill out this mount to accommodate a 3mm screw. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so I got my holes filed out to accommodate a 3mm screw. Okay, that's a heavy motor, so we're going to run 3mm instead of 2. So let's see if this screw is going to be too long. We might need to trim it up. Go ahead and get this on the motor shaft, right on the flat spot right there. Got a nice big flat spot on this motor. Mine's running back, so right there should be good. Get it right on the flat spot. Tighten it down. Get it good and tight. Looks good. Right on the flat spot. You guys see that? Dead nuts in line. And I'm going to go ahead and get my mounting screws. I wish I could go 3mm mounting screws on this, but that would be an act of Congress to do that. Okay. I got 2 washers on here, a big one and a little one. Okay, more surface area to help hold that thing down. Okay, I'm going to use Loctite on it. Okay, it's a nylon locking screw or nut that's in there. It's got a nylon locking nut, so Loctite's not really needed. But I'm going to use it. Loosening up these 2 head screws right here. We're going to get our motor lined up to our stuffing tube. Okay, what I like to do is I got my coupler. It's all Loctited, as you guys seen. I like to put my shaft in, okay, and just watch it when it goes in the collet. You know, if it kind of veers off in one direction or the other, you got some work to do. You know, you want it to go straight in. You guys see that? I got it going straight in. Okay, so we're going to lock it in right there. Final answer. Okay, let's do it again. Make sure this bottom's lined up. That looks good. Alright, we'll get these guys tightened up. You want to get these 2 right here tightened down real good. I've had a lot of bad experience with those 2 mounting screws loosening up and my motor shifting, and that's basically why I had to replace the stuffing tube mount, was because these 2 screws right here always loosened up and my motor would go cocked. So I definitely recommend Loctite. I definitely recommend a larger washer on it, getting it good and tight. Okay, so we got our motor in. It's basically pushed to its back position. All right, my motor's mid mounted on the mount here, and let's check alignment. That looks good. That looks good. All right, looks good. Okay, so what I recommend, if you're going to be putting bigger electronics in this boat, and this is another winter project that I'm planning on doing this winter. I got a lot of projects planned for the winter. If you're planning on putting a big motor, big ESC, big batteries in this boat, it's going to add weight. Anytime you add weight to a boat, whether it's a boat, an RC car, anything, when you add weight, you need to go through and strengthen the hull or the chassis, and do anything you can to prevent future breaks from the excess weight. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm taking this electronics tray out. I'm going to remove all my blocks for all the mounting blocks. I'm getting a rail style mount, and I'm going to remove these back 2 braces back here. Okay, I'm going to go carbon Kevlar inlay from all the way from the seam all the way to the other seam, forward to stern. Okay, full carbon Kevlar. I'm going green. I'm going to remove all this, you know, and put a rail style mount, because this is a 4082. Now, if you're going to keep the stock electronics tray or keep an electronics tray, Offshore Electrics offers a crazed UL-19 carbon fiber tray. It's got cutouts for the battery, so your battery's actually sitting on the deck of the boat. If you're going to put a crazed tray in, I recommend reinforcing the boat, you know. So my water cooling coming from the cooling tube right here, my hard tube, I'm going to run it under the motor. Okay, slide this nipple down a little bit so my out nipple is on top. You always want your out nipple on top of the motor. What happens is the motor fills up with water, and then it escapes. Okay, if you had your exit right here, it would only fill up halfway, so you're not getting full cooling. Okay, yeah, so we're going to run that cooling tube like that. That's going to be perfect. And then this guy right here, is going to come around the ESC, come in the front and out. All right, this is going to be our out for the motor right here. Boom, boom, boom. That's done. The motor's done. All right, so now we just got to mount the ESC up. So I've got this voltage, external voltage wire that I've got to consider here, and these wires right here I've got to come up with consolidation. This voltage wire, it needs to reach my receiver that's going to be mounted right here. You know what I'm saying? And I was thinking I could run this under the electronics tray so it's out of the way, out of sight, out of mind type deal. I should have cut these wires shorter because I don't need that much wire in this boat. Oh man, I don't like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and get this hooked up. We're going to get this, before we install the ESC permanently, we need to go ahead and get this binded up. Let's go ahead and get it binded up, make sure our rotation is right for the motor, make sure the motor rotation is correct before we mount up the ESC. Okay, get everything binded up. All right, so let me go over what I got going on right here. Okay, I got a lot going on. All right, I've already checked my polarity on my ESC wires. Positive to negative, negative to positive, positive to negative. Okay, on the ESC. Got my voltage probe hooked up. My voltage probe's hooked into the receiver. Okay, I've got my throttle ESC hooked up to the throttle channel, channel 2. Servo's hooked up to channel 1. Okay, I've got 2 HCL-HPs hooked up here, and we're going to bind up the QUASAR. Go in my remote, go to menu, go to linkage menu, get ready to hit link. Okay, I got my batteries plugged in, everything's plugged in on my receiver. I'm going to press on.
Receiver battery 6.0.
Okay, we're going to
external battery 20.
hold the link button on the receiver till it turns green and blinks. Once it's green, blinking green, you go to link, start link, link successful. Okay, we got it linked up. All right, so now we got to calibrate the throttle. So we're gonna turn it off. We got it all linked up. We're gonna turn it off. Okay. We're going to turn it off. We're going to turn it back on. Hold the set button. Okay, let go of the set button. Get the transmitter ready. That's neutral. Save full throttle. Full reverse. Save. Should be calibrated.
Receiver battery.
And we've got power. Okay. So I'm going to pull that flex cable out. We'll wind up the motor on 6S here. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, man. She's going to be a beast with this 2200. All right. So now let's check motor rotation so we can go ahead and figure out which wires need to go where on the ESC. So we've got it. A little bit of throttle. We want to, if you're looking at it from the front, you want a right hand rotation. If you're looking at it from the back, counterclockwise. Alright, so everything's good. All of our wires are hooked up on the ESC correctly.
Receiver battery 6.0.
Okay, see that?
External battery 22.9.
External. That's what we're running, 6S. And then once we run the boat, you know, and get this guy here all plumbed in and wired up, we'll have a speed readout right here, and it'll actually tell us what our speed is in real time. Okay, so let's listen to the motor real quick. Sounds good. Oh shit. I think I'm just going to kind of get all this cleaned up. Okay, you guys know what I'm doing. Once I have it all cleaned up and everything, plumbed in and in its rightful spot, I'll go through and show you guys the build. Where do I start? Okay, I'm gonna show you how where the CG's at. It's perfect with the batteries forward. The CG's right behind this Mad Lizard turn fin. Okay, it's like right here, and then when I move my batteries back, my CG's about right here. Okay, that's gonna be perfect. I'll show you in a little bit. I got my on-off switch double side taped down just in front of the battery tray. I got my Velcro on the ESC with a single zip tie holding it down. Okay, ran it in between my cooling nipples there. Okay, that worked out perfect. I ended up unplugging all my wires, running my external voltage wire, one on one side, one on the other. Okay, and then I plugged them back in, and then I took this piece of copper wire right here and hooked it up to my voltage probe wire and ran it under the battery tray to my receiver. Okay, I got it plugged in the back there, and then I got my, well, I still got to Velcro this down. I'm gonna use Velcro for that bad boy. That's my GPS module. Got it hooked up to this side right here. With these HCL-HPs, you know, they're long, skinny packs, so weight distribution is gonna be very minimum. Okay, so I got my remote turned on. Let's power the boat on.
Receiver battery 6.0.
Okay.
External battery 22.9.
Oh, this thing's gonna freaking haul ass, you guys. It's gonna straight up haul ass. So I'm kind of glad I didn't cut my, I was gonna cut like this much off my battery wires. If you don't need all the battery wire, cut it off. Cut some of it off and solder your connectors on. And I may still do it, but I kind of like how long it is. You know what I mean? I got that voltage probe wire right there, and I could just leave them like sitting just like that, right on top of my motor. You know, I think it's actually a nice clean setup. You know, I got my extension on there. I actually need to heat shrink my extension connection. I need to heat shrink it so it don't come apart mid-run. You hear the remote talking to us? That's cool. That's cool. All right, so with the electronics, no batteries. Put the hatch on. Let's get a total weight. 6 pounds, 9 ounces. Okay, so with batteries, you're looking 7 pounds, 7.5, depending on what batteries you're running. Total weight for the boat. All right, so let's, I got the setup board here. Let's put the boat on the setup board. I'll turn it around and we'll mess with that Mad Lizard tuning gauge. You know, the ride height gauge. All right, so I got it sitting on the setup board. Okay, the boat, 8 pounds. It's heavy. It's kind of heavy. So we're actually going to have to tune this. And I've got the ride height gauge out of its package. You can see it's incrementally stepped up here. Okay, I actually put Mad Lizard sticker on there, and I went ahead and marked out the height of the sponson right behind the sponson right here before it gets to the sump bottom. It's actually 21 millimeters. I used a paint marker there. I'll show you how I got that measurement there. I just put it right behind the sponson here. Okay, I've never used one of these ride height gauges, so this is how I'm gonna use it to start off with. So I've got the stock right behind the sponson. It's 21 millimeters. Got it marked out right there. So I'm actually gonna set the sump, the bottom of the boat, the tunnel, at 21 millimeters all the way down. That's gonna give me basically a level or a neutral ride angle. Okay, we're probably going to have to pick the strut up a little bit, lift the back of the boat up some. So I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to set it under the sump right here and move it back and until we get to this relief area. This is a relief area right here. Okay, it kind of relieves the wind, the air under the boat. Okay, so we're going to set it at 21 where the painted height is. Okay, so I set it down here. Okay, so let's see if we can go. I got it right the first time. Make sure I'm right on 21. Yep. Okay, so it's 21 until we get to the relief area. All right, 21. Okay, all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten it up right there. That's where we'll start off at. Okay, so I actually shortened up my blast pickup right here, and I cut that extra. I had an extra hole back here I wasn't using, so I cut it off, shortened up this tube so I can actually run this a little bit lower, give it a nice low profile look. I'm gonna set my blast pickup basically right behind the tip of my propeller. I've actually got this hole angled over. Okay, you guys see that? Alright, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down, get it good and tight so my blast pickup doesn't move. Okay, you want to make sure this is tight, especially if you're using a blast pickup like I am. Alright, good and tight. That's on there good. Okay, make sure we got 21 across the board. Alright, if she wants to pick up in the front, you know, at speed, we may need to raise the transom, maybe go up to 22. You know what I mean? This is going to be very helpful for those of you who have this boat or larger riggers. This may come in handy for you. You know what I mean? I think it's freaking cool. So so we've got the bottom set, the rod height set. Now we need to make sure the turn fin is in line with the bottom. I think I'm going to go by the curve right here. You guys see it's basically level with the setup board. You can see the reflection right there. Okay, I think some turn fins actually go by this bottom leading edge angle. If I were to go with the leading edge angle, it would actually cant the round part forward, and that may actually dig in this right sponson and pick up the left sponson. Boom! All right, we got her all done. She's done. Got it tuned in, got the strut depth or height set, got my prop, got my blast pickup set up, GPS is in, the receiver's in. All right, we got the voltage probe hooked up, it's run, it's nice and tidy. Check that out, man. That is a clean looking setup. ESC motors hooked up, right direction, got the coolant plumbed in. Coolant comes from the blast pickup down the hard tube to the blue line, goes around the ESC, in, out the boat. Boom. Okay, same thing with the motor. Under the motor, it looks clean. Under the motor, just enough to bend it to the motor, out the top of the motor. Now, if you decide to put this in your boat, you're probably going to have to move your water jacket, slide it from side to side to get batteries in. You know, just kind of slide it over. It's a nice heavy duty water jacket, you know, but and it's tight right here, you know. But I can run these 7600s in the boat with no issue. They're a long skinny pack. That's gonna be my speed run pack right there for this boat. 7600 150Cs. But I got some 2S packs. I got some DV Extreme 2S, and I got some Z Premiums coming that we're going to do a kind of a, well, that's what I'm going to run the boat on mostly, 4S, you know, do speed runs with the 6S packs. But we're kind of going to do a comparison between the Premium Zs and the DV Extremes. That should be a pretty cool little experiment that's coming up. Okay, I think it's a great little setup. If you're looking for more power in your U-19 or any other boat, you know, ready to run boat that you want to power up, this is a good option. You know, it's not cheap. You know what I mean? It's a Sea King, basically. Sea King, Hobby Wing, okay? Same thing with the ESC. It's Hobby Wing products. But you can't get the Sea King 6 poles anymore. You know, you can't get them. He had this motor specially designed. All right, it's got some, it's going to be a beast in this boat. Go check him out. I got links for everything I use in the description. Okay, everything. So, oh man, I can't wait to get it in the water, you guys. Oh, that's a clean setup, boys. Boom! Big shout out to all my subscribers, all my viewers, everybody who supported me through the channel, you know, all the comments. You guys have been great. My viewers, my subscribers, thank you. Just want to say thank you, guys. And, you know, I wouldn't be doing stuff like this if it wasn't for you guys. You know what I mean? So, I just want to say thanks. We'll see you guys next time. Big B with Ironclad RC.